Hi, I'm Max Jones, and this is Zach Morton with the Mojo Real Estate Team, and we're here today with Brandon Miller of A-Pro Home Inspection, and he's going to show us around the house, teach us some tricks and tips as far as home maintenance goes, because your home is one of your most valuable assets and investments, and we want to teach you guys how to take great care of it. So let's go inside, shall we? Come on. All right, we can get started in the kitchen. Yeah. All right, Brandon. Tell us what we need to know about the kitchen.
All right, so the first thing we're going to show you is what to do for the refrigerator. So we'll head on over there. So of course you want to keep your house in tip-top shape. A couple things to do on that is just to make sure that you're maintaining your refrigerator properly. Of course you get the little dust bunnies underneath. You want to make sure that you clean with a nice vacuum underneath so you're not attracting any kind of insects or mice or vermin. That'll be one of the biggest things you can do here for the kitchen, obviously. Second thing is you can also make sure that you clean the filter if your refrigerator has an ice tray or it has a water dispenser. There's usually a filter inside. Make sure you can replace that, and then make sure that you can also clean the trays and the cabinets inside here, and making sure that they're all in good shape and working order. Next, we're moving over to the range, and on a nice warm spring day would be a good time to clean the oven. A couple things you can do on that is make sure that you open your door, clean out all your pots and pans, as you don't want them in there when you clean it. And then you can turn on your self-cleaning oven and let it go through its paces. Spring's a great time to do this because it can put off some nasty smells, so open the windows, open the doors while you're going through the process. In addition, making sure that you clean the top racks here and making sure they're in good order. A couple tips. One of the tips is if you have a gas range, making sure that the shut-off valve is in the room. In case of a gas leak or a fire, you want to be able to get to that quickly. And so make sure that you locate that as well. Alright, so the next thing you want to try to do is making sure that your caulking where your backsplash meets your countertop is in good shape. A couple reasons, especially around your sink. What can happen is water can get back in here. You can kind of see here this caulking needs to be replaced. Water can get back here and cause water damage. A couple things you can do, especially if you have a grouted backsplash here. You can see the color of the grout. One thing you can get is like Home Depot or even Lowe's. You can get a sanded caulk instead of having to redo all the grout work, which can be a pain and really messy. You can get a sanded caulk and caulk the backsplash here, and you can get a colored caulk that kind of mimics the same color as your grout here too. So it's a good thing to do that, just to keep moisture intrusion from behind the cabinets, and it can cause a lot of rot and mold issues if you don't. A couple quick things you can do also while you're also in the kitchen cleaning and doing some other things is making sure that your microwave, all the buttons are opening and closing, and then just clean the inside of it. And then also on your dishwasher, go ahead and run it through its paces, and then about halfway through its cycle, just feel the floor. Make sure that there's not been any leaks or anything. So the next thing you should do is just do a double check on your fireplace. You've probably been running it all the way through the winter time. This particular one is a gas fireplace, a zero clearance gas fireplace to be specific. But what you can also take a look at is make sure that there hasn't been any soot buildup on your logs inside. If so, it's a sign of incomplete combustion, which can add carbon monoxide to the house, so you can have that serviced. Some fireplaces, this one just operates by a switch where it has a pilot light that will ignite, and then the surround will go, which I'll show you. So it has a pilot light, and then it'll eventually go. Now some zero clearance gas fireplaces have a pilot light that's on year round. Now's a good time to probably go ahead and turn that off, and usually you can remove the covering, take off your door here, and then there's a shut-off valve in there. The reason why you'd want to do that is the fireplace will, or the pilot light will continue to go. It just costs you money. So you might as well go ahead and turn off the pilot light since you're not going to be using it until the fall. Alright, so another thing to do during the spring is to just double check your windows. What you want to make sure that they're in good shape is the caulking along the inside of the window. This can help seal it out for any kind of rainstorms you get. It's important to use a paintable caulk, so if you ever decide to paint later, it can also then be painted. And so a couple things you want to do is you can use Windex, something like that, just to make sure that you can clean the inside of the windows, tops and bottoms. These particular windows have some nice features on them where you can actually pop them out. So I'll kind of show that to you. So you'd open the window, pop it up just a little bit to get it above here, and then it has little tabs right here. But then you can pull it out and then you can clean the outside of the window too. Now just make sure that when you're replacing them you don't just slam them back because you can break these tabs. Be gentle, pull it down, and there you go. So now we're going to start off in the bathroom here. Your house may or may not have a whirlpool tub. This one does, so there's a couple unique things you have to make sure that you maintain on these. Number one is the caulking at the surround and then along here. Again, you can still use that sanded caulk I talked about from the kitchen area, but when you have openings like this, and if you have little kids like I do, they'll tend to pour water right there and then you have a flood in your basement. So you want to make sure that you maintain your caulking and grout along here, and then run this. If you see that there's debris that comes out of the nozzles, there's a product you can get called O-Yuck. That's O-H-Y-U-K. I think you can get it on Amazon. It's about $15 to $20, and it's designed to clean the lines on the inside of these tubs. So you just pour a couple capfuls in there, run it through, and it'll help clean out those lines, because they can build up with mold or human debris, if you will, and they get pretty nasty. So while you're doing that, cleaning it out and running your whirlpool tub, open up the cabinet here. Take a look underneath. You can get any kind of flashlight and just take a look. Do you have any leaks going on? When you're looking in here, see if you can see the front nozzles here, and making sure that there's no leaks happening. If so, then you can also call a plumber to help you fix those kinds of things. And just proper maintenance on these will go a long way, especially on resale value. When if an inspector's in here and they're catching leaks on this, that's not the time you want to have to deal with that. So check it every spring, make sure things are in good shape. From there, we're going to move over to your shower. And this is a tiled shower. In here, you'll just want to make sure that the grout along the bottom edges are in good shape, and then the drain is not clogged either. If there's hair, whatever, you can clean that out. But you want to make sure that the grout line along in here is in proper order, or else you could have potential for leaks, and that can be an expensive fix. Okay, next we're going to show you just how to maintain and properly inspect your toilet and a sink real quick. A couple things, just make sure that the ring on it is in good shape. A couple things you can do is you can just walk up to it, put your knees around it, and then just barely kind of move it side to side. If it rocks, usually because it's on tile, they don't want to tighten it down too much, but if it rocks, there's a chance for when someone's sitting on it to break that wax ring, and it can really start to leak. If that happens, there's a couple little areas down here, screws and so forth, where you can pop these off, and then you can screw it a little bit tighter. And while you're down here, you might as well take a look at your supply line, make sure there's no leaks at your supply line, and then where it connects into your tank here, and go ahead and flush it. Make sure there's no leaks at the wax ring, there's no leaks here, or anything like that. So make sure it drains and fills and flushes correctly. Next, we'll move over here to the sink. And a couple things to just kind of take a look for here. You can make sure that your drain stopper's stopping. You can turn your water on, make sure that there's no leaks underneath. And also, this also has a little filter in here, and a lot of times it can actually restrict flow. So if you're feeling like you got a restriction of flow here in your water, you can take this off. Sometimes sediment builds up on that. You can clean that out and go ahead and hopefully that'll help your water pressure. Moving on below, well, we'll stay up here. Also take a look for the caulking at your surround here too, and making sure that that's in good shape. Again, you don't want moisture to get behind there and causing issues. So then going underneath your sink while it's running, go ahead and take a look at your supply. Your supply line's down here, and then also your waste line. You can kind of, while it's running, feel around here if you're getting leaks. You can kind of tell as well. Also, if you're getting a slow drain or a backup, you may have a buildup of gunk or hair or something like that in here in your trap. You can buy, you can try to use liquid like liquid plumber or something like that, or they also call a product called a Zip It, which has like a little teeth on it, where you'd actually go from the top and pull out whatever could be causing the clog there. If that doesn't work, call a plumber, they can help. Alright, so here we're down by the furnace. One of the most important things you can do on a monthly basis is replace your furnace filter. The way that you'll do that, you'll come down to your furnace, take a look. Sometimes it's inside your bottom cabinet. This one is actually outside here. So what you'll want to do is you'll remove it. Pay attention to the size that it is. This is a 25 by 25 by 1. Take it out. You can see that it's a little bit dirty. And I'd recommend, like I said, just buy the cheap ones. Replace them every 30 days. If you have a lot of allergies, there's a couple things you can do, but you can probably step it up to those filters. But they get expensive, and especially if you're replacing them every 30 days, just buy the cheapest ones. You can step it up and buy the heavier duty ones, but they do tend to restrict airflow through the system, so it has to work harder. And you know, if you have allergies, especially seasonal, there's some other things that you can do to help remove molds and pollens out of the air. About $300–400 installed. You can have a UV filter installed in here, which will actually remove like 99% of any microbial growth that could help cause allergies. And then you can continue to use the cheap ones. A couple things you should take a look at on your new filter is you can see on this one how it's all paper on one side, and then on this side it actually has a backing. On these filters it has an airflow arrow. And so this is your return going into your system, and then you have supply. So what you always want is this arrow to be facing your system. So I see a lot of these are always installed backwards, and I've seen these filters get sucked into your blower motor if you don't install it correctly. So we'll go ahead and replace it. There we go. You can throw that away. The other thing that you can also take a look at is if you do have a humidifier on your system, these also have a humidifier pad in it. So you can take a look here, open it up, and it has a little filter inside as well. These can be replaced about once every year. You can find them at Home Depot, Lowe's, your big box store. Or if you have a professional come out and service your unit, you could also ask them to replace this as well. But this one looks pretty good at this point in time. This particular system does have a humidifier on it. If yours has one on there, there's certain times of the year that you're going to want to operate them. In times of summer, your air conditioning actually works to remove moisture out of your air. So you're going to want to turn your humidifier off. This one has a humidistat up here, and so you're going to want to just turn it all the way off. And then it also has a damper system in here, and you can actually see where it says summer and winter on it. and it's a damper, it's like a flapper. And so it's you'll just close it off for the summer, so you're not putting additional air or moisture into the air, which is going to reduce your efficiencies for your air conditioning. When you turn your furnace on in the fall, then you're going to go ahead and come down here and open the damper and then adjust your humidistat to somewhere around 35 to 40%. And that's how you properly maintain your humidifier through the year. So now we're going to talk just briefly about your water heater. And a couple things on this. If you don't know if you have hard water or not, you can spend a little bit of time down here listening to your water heater. If you hear some popping, some cracking as it's trying to heat water up, that means you have some sediment built up into the tank. A couple things that you can do to help maintain it is down here you have a little drain valve. Make sure that you locate where your floor drain is, and you can you can attach a hose to this over to your floor drain, and you can drain out basically 1 to 2 gallons of water on that, and it'll actually help remove some of the sediment that may have built up in there too. So over time, these tend to last 7 to 12 years. I have seen 30-year-old systems, but you will lose capacity as the years go with the sediment buildup in these. Just make sure, obviously, if you're living in the house, you know if it's heating and cooling, or not cooling, but heating your water up. Just make sure you pay attention to that. There's no leaks around the tank. Also, what they call the TPR valve, which is the temperature relief valve, which is this little thing right here. And it comes and terminates about 6 inches off the floor on the back. Make sure it isn't leaking either. You can kind of see down here. I'll get my light out. So this is your line right here, and it's not leaking either. So just a couple things to take a look at and make sure your water heater's in good shape. So here we're looking at our sump pump. This house has a sump pump, some houses don't. If you don't, great. If you do, it's good and important to make sure that you maintain it. A couple things you can do is remove your cover. Make sure that this is operating. If you have heavy rains, you can hear it operating, but if you're not quite sure, you can open up the cover and then you can manipulate the float below. So there you go. Just make sure that it's operating. Also, just kind of a tip, if you hear that this is operating all the time, like when there's rains and it's working all the time, it feels like it's working all the time, you can also install what they call a battery backup system. In case of loss of power, it will continue to run. It does need power, so if you lose power and it's operating all the time, there's a chance it could back up and it can flood your basement. So just making sure on the exterior side that your drainage line does discharge about 4 to 5 feet or more from your house, so it's not having to just constantly run, can also help too. And we'll check that out when we get to the exterior. Okay, so we moved on to the exterior. Hopefully it's a nice day when you're doing all this. You don't want to do it while it's raining, of course. So get outside, take a look at a couple things. You want to make sure that you're looking at your siding. This is a composite type siding that they put on a lot of houses here in the Kansas City area. It's important that you maintain it. They come in 4x8 sheets, and where they have little nail penetrations, all of those should always be caulked. And where the two sheets come together, you should also caulk the seams too, and then also on the bottom edges and all trim pieces. So take a walk around your house, make sure that you're not seeing any openings in there. If so, that you can get like a contractor grade paintable caulk. If you're not ready to paint yet, you can get a clear paintable caulk until you're ready to paint. If you're getting ready to paint, then go ahead and just have either your painter, or you can do it and just make sure they caulk everything with that white paint or the white caulking. Another thing to do also, if you are planning on painting, making sure that you paint the bottom edge of this stuff, as water will come down and it'll tend to sit on the bottom edge and it'll soak it up. This can be good siding if you maintain it. If you don't maintain it, it can go to rot really quickly. And so just making sure that you're caulking all the penetration points is key. We talked a little bit earlier about your sump pump, and right here is where our sump pump exits. You can see where it drains right next to the house. So what it's happening is a lot of times this water will drain right here, it'll go all the way to the footers, and it'll just continue to recycle it. And so if you're noticing that your sump pump runs all the time, put an extender on this and get it further from the house. That way there's going to be less chance for this water to continue to go back to the house, and it'll just continue to run. You can see a little bit of caulking right here that needs to be done. Also around the windows, there's also caulking that needs to be done. You can see where there's little gaps here and there, especially down here. So all these are just going to be penetration points for moisture to either find its way inside the house or start to produce rot on the trim pieces here. So every time you paint, caulk. So the next thing I really kind of want to talk about is your drainage on the exterior side of the house. I know this can be a boring subject, but it can help save your investment a ton of money. This one is a downspout that goes below grade. You want to make sure that it's draining properly. One thing you can do in the spring is get your garden hose out, try to pour water down this. If it backs up on you, you know that it's clogged and it needs to be cleaned. The reason why this is important is if we're in an area of expansive soils, and if you allow water to sit next to your foundation, it will find its way all the way to the footer, and as it continues to rain, it will expand that soil like a sponge. It'll start putting pressure against your foundation, and it will also find its way inside to your basement. So if you're having basement moisture issues, check your downspouts. Are they discharging next to your house, or are they going further from it? That's a really important thing. The other thing is making sure you're grading along the house. That's the soil, right? If you're having a negative grade, then that water's going to also come right back to your foundation, start putting pressure, and it's just going to continue to erode your foundation. 9 times out of 10 in our area, if you're having moisture problems or if you're having settlement problems in your house, it's due to moisture on the exterior side of the house, and you're not taking proper care to get that water away. Okay, one thing some houses have are decks or patios or porches. This one is a deck that's built on grade, you can tell, but it's also got a patio, which is really nice. But if you only have just a deck, making sure that your wood members of that deck are at least painted or sealed. Particularly, I like a nice sealer to help moisture from getting into here and rotting out your deck. It'll keep it in good shape for as long as you can. A couple other things you may want to also take a look at is your posts that go into the ground. You kind of feel around there. Are your posts getting rotted out? If so, they'll probably need to be replaced just to keep it in good shape. A couple of things that you also can look for is making sure your drainage underneath the deck, if you can get to. This one's right on grade, so it's really hard to get to, but if it's built above, sometimes that soil can get eroded away, and that's where you can start having drainage problems into your house too. We can't really see it, but also decks should be properly lag bolted or to the house. And if they're not, you can only see nails there, it needs to be done because that could be a failure point for you on your deck. All right, one of the last things here for us here today is taking a look at your condenser unit. It could be a heat pump or an air conditioner. Well, we won't really get into that quite yet, but a couple things just to make sure that you're maintaining. The fins can get really dirty, especially during the spring and all the pollen that's coming through. Making sure your fins are nice and clean of debris. There's no vegetation around it. That could help it keep it from breathing properly. If they are dirty, you want to get a nice little hose. These are made to be outside, so you can get them wet. But you can take a nice garden hose and try to spray from the inside out, so you're not pushing all that dirt all the way through. You want to take it from the inside and push it all the way out. Another thing to take a look at is your refrigerant line, and that's what this thing is. You have an insulation on this. You can buy it at Home Depot, Lowe's for like $2-3, depending on how long yours is. But make sure that it's maintained. This does go bad after a while, especially in the UV rays. And this refrigerant line is really cold in the summertime. And so if you're missing this insulation, you're paying too much for your air conditioning. You're not getting the efficiencies that you want. So just maintain that for $3 to $4, and it'll help go a long way with keeping your bills down. Okay, just a couple basic things to do in the garage, especially on your garage doors, where you have these little wheels. You make sure that those are properly lubricated. They're they're rolling as you're operating them. And then also you have little lasers here, making sure that they're properly aligned. If your garage door, when you're operating it, doesn't want to go down all the time, you have to continue to hold your button. It's usually because your lasers are not lining up, and so it's thinking that there's something blocking it and it's pulling it back up. So you can call a professional, JV garage door, overhead garage door, a couple different places out there. Royal, I think garage door does good work too, to go ahead and make sure that they do some adjustments on your garage doors, and making sure that they're working for you as you're coming in and out.
All right, looks like we're back where we started. Thanks so much, Brandon, for your time and
Absolutely.
expertise.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, guys. And again, if you need to have any of these things done to your house, Max and I network for a living, so think of us as a resource. We're connected with hundreds of contractors that can help you take care of everything Brandon just talked about. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.